We want to get started. Welcome. Thank you all for jumping on today. I've missed all your faces. It's so good to see you. We're going to mute everybody, but simply when we start the discussions, we're going to talk about, I'm going to send it over to Mark in a second. It's going to be the topics that we wanted to discuss were collecting dues during this time, creatively connecting during this time, ideas on revenue. Of course, we're going to talk about events and how to plan for those postponed, and then managing staff working remotely. We're going to try to stop at 9:50 a.m. to have an update on the healthcare plan. And at 10 o'clock, the governor speaks. So we wanted to kind of wrap up at 10. But thank you all for joining, and I will give it to Mark.
During this time, all the helpful resources that the Tennessee Chambers provided, all of our chambers. You guys are doing yeoman's work. We appreciate everything you guys are doing. And tell Bradley we appreciate everything he's doing as well. So, guys, let's just open it up. I don't want to occupy a lot of time. Thank you all for doing everything that you're doing. You probably heard it from your mayors. Hopefully you have. Hopefully you've heard it from your members about what you've been doing for them during this difficult time. But I want to say thank you as well. I know if you don't get the recognition that you certainly deserve, I just want to let you know that it doesn't go unnoticed. We all that work in this industry know how hard it is during this time. And so thank you for jumping on here today. We should learn a lot from each other. So let's go ahead and open it up about, I know it's been something that we've talked about over and over and over again about, okay, we don't want to be disingenuous and ask people for money, but at the same time, we didn't qualify for the PPP as 501c6s. So what are you guys doing to collect money? How are you dealing with your members? Are you still sending your invoices? Are you sending letters saying you'll give them payment terms? Just somebody jump in there and tell us what they've decided to do and how they feel like it's going to work for them.
I stole parts of a letter from somebody else, of course, but I put a letter together just telling them that I knew this time was hard and that we understood, and that we hope that they were finding the information that we've been sending helpful, and that we wanted to work with them during this time, and that we could put them on monthly, quarterly, or whatever they felt like would help them if they needed it, and to just call us and we would work it out that we'd take care of them during this time. And so far, I have had a couple people that we've worked out some payment plans to have them done by the next time that their memberships due, and they've been thankful and so helpful. But a lot of the people that we just sent our dues letters to have just paid all of it. And I'll probably do that through, I don't know how long I'll send that letter, but it replaced what letter we usually send with our membership.
That's great. Anybody else?
I'll go and speak for us. I mean, we've been pretty fortunate. I would say we made a quick pivot in the beginning to turn all of our events virtual. So we've had about 15 events that we've done virtual, which allowed us to retain our sponsors for each of those events, which was huge for us. And so a big focus of mine is to continue to try to provide value to at least retain the sponsorship. So, you know, from an event perspective, obviously we were not having the cost of the venue and catering and such, but we're also not having a ticket price. So retaining the sponsorship is really been important. I don't know if it's because of that, but I think because we quickly offered resources and different things to our business community in such a quick manner that we haven't had any fallout from membership revenue. We've been collecting dues just as normal. We haven't had, I had one member reach out and inquire, but we were able to accommodate them. From a new membership standpoint, is obviously not been super lucrative. We got 6 new members in the last month and a half, which is more than I thought we would get. So I'm taking that as a win for sure. But otherwise, we've just tried to do business as normal. We had one ribbon cutting that we did virtually. We had a member who started a new business in the middle of all this, and we were able to do a ribbon cutting virtually. Had 81 people attend the Zoom ribbon cutting, which was crazy to us. So we feel like we've had some wins. I think it's just because we've quickly started offering things virtually. We just made that switch, and we're trying to figure it out on the long haul for sure. So that's what we're doing.
Good deal. Who else?
This is Nicole in Kingsport. We also have done a letter that we recently sent out with our membership dues invoices, as well as some of the other invoices that we have coming out from our organization. Much like what the previous lady spoke about, that we want to work with you. We want to keep your membership. We value your membership. If you can't pay right now, we can work something out. But just please stay with us. Please don't drop us. We're doing a lot of virtual course offerings and webinars throughout the week from our various programs, from everything from our small business department to, leadership strategies through this process. Partner with Dale Carnegie. They're doing some things right now with lots of chambers. So that's another great idea. I think we've got 5 webinars with them coming up this week, as well as our PALS Business Excellence Institute. They recently changed their name to McClaskey's, and that's something that's located here locally in Newport, and they're offering webinars and course offerings with us. In fact, yesterday we had one, and we maxed out at the 99 mark of people that could attend that event. So all those virtual course offerings have been really successful for us. We have lost 2 members, but it's only been 2 members, and our overall response rate has been really positive. Our membership department, as well as our other departments, have been reaching out individually to all of our chamber members, trying to individually touch every single member we have, and we have close to 850. So it's been a huge effort, but I think that's really making the difference for us.
That's great, Nicole. I would say we completely refocused our new sales effort. As Brian said, it's pretty disingenuous to go out and ask people to join the chamber right now. So we refocused all of our sales efforts and new member sales efforts into just calling people, saying, how are you weathering through this? What's going on? How can we help? Making sure they understood where the resources were on our website. And so we just redeployed people to call everybody. And that has paid huge dividends. We've been getting great response as well. So good to hear, Nicole. Anybody else? Well, I think go ahead.
Tanya Howe in Arlington.
Yeah, Tanya.
So right after everything shut down, we were supposed to hold our annual tasting event, which is one of our largest fundraisers. And of course that one was canceled. But I contacted every sponsor and let them know the situation. It was early on, so it was still a little bit new that everything was canceling. And I'm happy to report that over half of our sponsors said, keep the money as an investment in the chamber. And actually on an event that didn't happen with no ticket sales, because we had to refund all the ticket money, we made money. So yeah. I'm going to say that's a win. We also are offering a 90-day grace period to our members on their dues. Just call us and let us know how they'd like to arrange that, if they want to do payments or if they want to postpone for a while. So, and like the others, just trying to call everybody and stay in touch.
That's great. Anybody else using some creative ways that they're connecting with their members? I'm sure you're using social and other things, but how else are you staying in touch with them?
Hey, Mark, it's Julie Ward in Milan. As far as the sending the invoices, we did that, and we said, if you need to defer your payment, we understand. If you can send it, that's great. If you would like to help another business with their dues, please let us know, and we'll get the accounts noted. So we've sent that out there. Most people have been sending in their dues, so we're very thankful about that. We have reached out to all of our members, every single one of them. There's only 2 of us in the office during this time, at least 3 times. And we've done it by text, email, and phone. So when you get people on the phone, they want to talk a while, so that takes a while. But text and email has worked well too.
That's great, Julie. Anybody else? Woody, I saw you. Were you getting ready to say something for us?
Yes, sir. We're pretty much ignoring dues and carrying everybody, because I can't ask a merchant for dues when they can't pay their rent. And
yeah.
I got businesses that are not going to survive.
Yeah. Yeah, we all
carrying them.
Yeah, Woody, we do too. And we pretty much philosophically have that same thought process. We're going to carry people You know, I know some people during the 2008 recession, some people just carried people indefinitely. I'm not sure that's great, but we're going to carry them for a long period of time to give them an opportunity to keep themselves afloat. A lot of our, like you said, merchants, restaurants, bars, all those kind of folks are really hurting right now. And so that in some cases, that's the best thing that you can do for your community is just say, you know what, we're going to be here. We want you to be here with us. So
Hey,
anybody else?
Woody, let us know, let the group know which chamber you represent.
Metropolitan Lynchburg, Moore County.
Perfect. Thanks, Woody.
Thank
Good
you,
to see you.
Hey, Mark.
Yeah.
I just wanted to say that we just had a board meeting on Monday virtually, and we separated the list out, and we're sending each of our board a certain number of people to contact. You know, I think sometimes it's hard for us to get our boards involved anyway. Some of us have awesome ones, some of us not so much. But I thought this, they were wondering how they could help, and I think they realized at this point that their role is kind of important. So they, they agreed wholeheartedly to step up and try to call some of these businesses. So we're just taking advantage of that and having them call upon them. We all know that that means a lot coming from some of our board members because they're, high up in our communities. So I think that goes a long ways too, to see, to give them a chance to step up, for the chamber. So I'm excited to see how that goes, but that's the route we took for contacting members. Of course, like you said, social media and things like that, and reaching out to some of them personally, but we're splitting the list up and, starting with who we think will be, impacted the most and contacting them and then working our way up.
That's great. Anybody else have any creative ways that they're connecting with their members? So you're using board members, you're, obviously, like Julie said, you're in the office calling people as many times as you can. Anybody else using some creative methods to connect with their members, not just from an event perspective? Yeah.
Mark, this is Mandy White.
Yeah, Nancy.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, that's go ahead.
Go ahead, Mandy.
Okay, sorry. Mandy White with the Jackson Chamber. A lot of what everybody else has already said. We had a monthly networking event called Spark. So we've started Spark Plugs, which are now held virtually on Tuesdays and Thursdays. And it's an interactive live stream that's hosted on Facebook. That's not really just for our members, it's for the general public. And we've brought in, speakers on PPP and positive mental health and pivoting your brand, managing people from home, just relevant topics that right now we feel are important. Tuesday, we're going to have both mayors on there to talk about easing into reopening business. And then today, as a matter of fact, we have both mayors, the president of the hospital, and the leader of our health department. And we're going to have a Zoom meeting for all of our members where they're going to talk about, because we're entering back into things starting on Monday. So they're going to talk about what that means. It'll be a chance for our members to ask them questions because, they give their daily briefings, but people can't necessarily ask them questions. So.
Yeah, Mandy, I'm really, really glad you brought that up. For some of you, you have great relationships with your mayors and with your county and commissions and city councils. Some of you maybe not so much, depending on, the politics of what's going on. This is a great time for you to reconnect with those folks and find ways to, for lack of a better term, ingratiate them to your chamber and say, hey, could I send out a message from you? Would y'all like to make a statement collectively about the importance of the business community and how much you care about them? This is a great opportunity now for you to reconnect with your folks in legislative areas to make sure that that they're in touch with your members. So thanks for telling us about that, Mandy. Anybody else?
Yeah, hi, this is Terry with Donaldson Hermitage Chamber. And
Yeah, Terry.
A lot of the same things that I'm hearing out there we've been doing, but I'm meeting with our executive committee via call today, and we're going to put together a plan to call all of our members, have the board call all of our members, but then have a follow-up by myself and Danielle, our operations manager, for any that, are needing us for something specific, because we're straight out of a tornado into COVID. I don't know, the tornado went through Donaldson Hermitage with a vengeance on the 3rd of March. So we're still, in recovery from that as well. But we will also, following Danielle and my contact with whoever might need be have a little extra love, we are also going to put our ambassadors on it and have them contact, get a third contact in there, because Nashville is not going to reopen on Monday like some of the others unless they've changed something in the last 24 hours. So, we're another couple of weeks probably out before we start seeing some of that. We do have a lot of takeout and curbside with our local restaurants. And one of the ways that we are going to support them, something that I saw at our conference back in March, we're going to get those cards printed that say, hey, we support your business. And because a lot of our members are supporting through takeout and curbside and helping our restaurants in that way. And we have Takeout Tuesday and that kind of thing. But dropping cards so they know that the chamber is supporting them. So those are some of the things that we're doing just to kind of keep things going right now.
That's great, Terry. Listen, let me say one other thing too, guys. This is a time for you to reset. This is a time for people for if you were going to put something new in place or you were going to do something a little different, now is the time for you to reset that, because their expectations and all of those kind of things are out the window. They're different than they were before. They're much more heightened aware of resources that are being made available to them. And anything that you can do to kind of reset and retool and re-engage in a different way with your members, these are all great ways to do it. I will tell you from a restaurant perspective, we probably didn't do as much, but this has been a good opportunity for us to be able to re-engage with our hospitality oriented members. So just keep that in mind, this is a good time to reset. Let's talk a little bit about revenue. What are some other things you're doing for revenue? We've heard about keeping sponsors in place with virtual events. We've heard a little bit about, using some of your events virtually, like Dale Carnegie and things like that. What else are you guys doing from a revenue perspective that is, or that you're going to roll out or that you're currently doing that is helping you with your revenue? Anybody?
It's Mandy from White House Chamber. We had a golf tournament scheduled, and our community is pretty heavy on golf tournaments, and so we realized we probably would not be able to make that up in the fall. So we reached out to that sponsor and asked him if he would like to sponsor a senior showcase. So we bought time on the digital billboard that is in our community, and we are going to showcase all of the graduating seniors from our community. And that golf sponsor is helping with that. So he really probably is getting more exposure with his investment. But we were able to keep that money at the chamber, and the billboard company gave us a really good deal too.
Great ideas. And the people in the education community are going to appreciate that. And certainly the seniors who have gotten shortchanged on their graduations are going to appreciate that, and they'll understand that the chamber is supporting them. That's a great idea. Anybody else?
We have a huge business expo that we do, and it's a community event. We're probably going to have to postpone it to the fall, but we're going to offer for anyone that's already currently registered, so that we can hold on to their revenue, some added exposure by doing a virtual expo, kind of like in a Today Show kind of format, where we're going to interview some business owners and do some entertainment in between, and offer door prizes to those that view it, and do it, every day leading up to when the event should have been this June, so that we can hold on to some revenues and then give everyone time to regroup and really put their best foot forward at the event in the fall.
Great idea. That's a great way to hold on to that revenue. Anybody else?
Mark, we started, which I know a few of you guys have done this too, but just in case anybody's on here that isn't doing this, we did the gift card program. And I know that's not major income right now, because the program that we signed up with was GiftFly, which the chamber, our chamber professionals group or whatever, they had put that in there, and they did a little call with him. But it is going to be income eventually. It's just a small percentage, but a lot of our businesses, that was a really clear way for us to be able to help them, because they didn't have a program like that at all. We're in a rural area, so those things really just, they just haven't unveiled them here. So that was, we only have one that's like booming right now on it, but she cannot be more grateful. If I can help one member, you know how our saying goes, but it is a residual income. You get a certain percentage of every sale of the gift card, of the fees of it. So I can totally see some of you all just making, a lot of money off of that eventually. Yeah, I think we would probably be lucky to get 15 to 20 members signed up on it. But I still think that would be, some constant, residual income when they start collecting the fees again. And I just love that program because they're not collecting fees right now. They were really in it to try to help small businesses. It was a really easy program, and like I said, our members are excited about it. We haven't got them all doing, but it was approved on Monday, and we've got one up and running, and she's already sold $355 worth. So
that's great. That's great. $355 to a small business right now is a lot.
yes.
The other thing I would say is, like, we do Office Depot. We have an affinity program with Office Depot. Well, that's a cost saving. So we sent something out to our members that said, look, we're trying to help you take advantage of every cost saving. If you do need to buy any supplies or anything moving back into reopening, please use Office Depot. Save yourself some money. So it was a chance for us to highlight an affinity program that we use to help our members save money. So anything that you've got in the way of affinity programs, now's the time for you to highlight those to let people know that you've offered them cost-saving opportunities through your affinity programs. Anybody else?
Hey guys, I have, this is Amy with the Bellevue Harpeth Chamber.
Hi, Amy.
Hey, we also signed up for Gift Fly, and we've sent it out to our members a couple of times. We're having difficulty getting people to sign up for it. I don't know if it's just because of the area that we're in, but I'm not sure, how to make that more clear to people that it's a way for them to create some revenue right now.
Melissa, why don't you and Brandy maybe get on a call offline and hear a little bit about what she's doing and maybe who she's approached. One thing when you're launching these affinity programs for your member, it's not always how many you get at the beginning, it's who you get at the beginning. And if you can go out and say, so-and-so has already signed up, other people go, oh, if they signed up, maybe I ought to. So you guys get offline and try to figure that out. See if you can help her, Brandy.
That'd be great. Thanks a lot.
Anybody else? Anybody else about ideas on revenue besides renewals? How you're doing that?
Mark, this is Mark at Mount Juliet. I have
Hey,
a
Mark.
question. A couple of months ago, the Tennessee Chamber launched TN Chambers Health, the health insurance program. Not a lot of money for each one, but there stood to be a lot of residual income.
Yeah.
Regardless, that was even before the virus. I understand there were very, very few chambers that got started with that at the beginning. Are there folks that are taking advantage of that? I know it's sort of taken a back seat for us, but we saw a lot of potential for
Mark,
$100 an employee or something.
Yeah. Mark, can we hold that at the end? But Jim Skelton is going to come on at 9:50 and talk about that specifically.
Absolutely.
And so we're kind of in the same boat. We're going to roll it out. We're waiting on one hospital to come on the provider list. So we're kind of in the same boat as you. We're a little late to the party, but we're going to make sure that happens. I agree with you. It's a good revenue opportunity for all of us, but not just the revenue opportunity. It's going to be great to go out to people who are not members and say, if you're a member, you qualify for this plan. But Jim's going to come on at 9:50 and talk about that. So
all right. Thanks, Mark.
Thank you, Mark.
And Mark,
Anybody else?
This is Carolyn real quick. I was going to tell you, Jim's already on here. So whenever we do wrap up, he'll be ready to talk.
Okay, good deal. Yeah. All right. So if there's no other ideas about revenue, how you're driving additional revenue, let's talk about, and we've heard several people talk about how they've held on to sponsors for events and what they've done to maintain that progress going forward. But let's talk a little bit more about postponing, about fundraising, budgeting, all that kind of stuff for your events. We're not really sure when the lift on 50 or more people gathering together are. So we're kind of in limbo about when we're going to schedule events, when we're going to reschedule them and all that kind of stuff. What are some of you other guys doing about figuring out what you're going to do about events moving forward?
We are holding hope. We're just trying to postpone everything. Since no one has a crystal ball, I know a lot have just wiped it out for the year, and I don't understand that at all, but maybe that's the best thing. But we're just keep postponing them month after month and crossing our fingers and hoping. And we were working with some venues yesterday about some protocols on, just how much room we can seat them in, and cleaning and the hand washing and the individual meals. And we just want it to work so bad, but we just keep postponing month after month in hopes. But that's just our plan for today.
Hey,
Anybody else?
Kelly.
Oh, go ahead.
This is Kelly from Rutherford County. We're basically doing, don't judge, I got my hair still wet. So we as well are just kind of going off guidelines. I mean, we are continuing to make decisions, it feels like daily. But really, I mean, I'm talking to members, I'm talking to people who are looking to join, which is exciting because, I mean, there are still people calling and wanting to talk to me about membership, which I love. So, we've talked about virtual ribbon cuttings, virtual ribbon cuttings and things like that. So sorry about that. The joys of working from home with your kids and your dogs. But we really are just trying to kind of follow the guidelines. I will say, I mean, I did talk to some folks about maybe doing virtual ribbon cuttings, and I know some of our chambers are doing that. But our members and our future members really want people to be there. They want to eventually shake hands, or they at least want people to see their space in real life. So I'm not sure that we are there yet as far as doing virtual ribbon cuttings, but we may be. We're just going to take it day by day and sometimes, I guess, month by month at this point.
Yeah. Anybody else?
Sure, this is Gary Donaldson again. Our biggest event, what was shaping up to be one of our biggest events for this year, we had just come through our gala. Thankfully, that was behind us 2 weeks before the tornado and the real onset of COVID. But our Taste of Donaldson Hermitage was coming up, and we were moving it to the Opry Mills Mall, which is a huge venue, and they're not open. And we don't know when they'll be open. They can't give us a tentative date. So we have just, it postponed, but we have not announced the postponement yet. And we're just holding on making those kinds of announcements till we have something more solid. But what we do feel is that our other 3 events are going to be in the last quarter of the year, because it's looking in Nashville as if we're going to be a long time before we get to large gatherings. I think we're 4 weeks from whenever our start point is. We're 4 weeks out before we can get to meetings of 100. So with a maximum of 100. So that means we can't have luncheons, our general membership luncheons, until we get to that point, which will be probably late June, which maybe we won't be doing a luncheon until July. But the thing is that our hotels where we do these things, they're closed as well. So I think everybody in our general area is pretty understanding about the fact that we've got to push things out. But as Susie said, we're not canceling things. We're just postponing, because we're looking at the possibilities of what we can do once things start to reopen and really get underway again.
Yeah, we got on chat from Hope Sartain. I wanted to make sure you guys heard this. She said that they're asking the community to post a picture with a word of encouragement for the graduating class. It's going to be shown at their virtual graduation that'll be held later at the drive-in movie theater in her community. And, it's not a revenue producer, but it's a really good feel-good for the community. And I would say, you guys that are used to working on events constantly, or you're very event-driven, you're starting to see that when you can't have events, you still have to be able to provide resources and value to your members. So this is probably a really great wake-up call for a lot of us who are incredibly event-driven, to understand that the community has other needs and that there's other ways you can connect to the community. So congratulations to Hope. And then Rebecca Melton said Tropical Smoothie opened during COVID-19, and they did a Facebook Live virtual ribbon cutting, and the video gained massive social media reach and ended up having the largest sales in the district the first week they opened. So that's great, Rebecca. Good 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 news. Anybody else?
Hey, Mark.
Hey, Mark. This is Jessica from the Blount County Chamber. How are you, Mark?
I'm doing good, Jessica. How are you?
I'm good. So we have an event late June that we are still trying to decide if we're going to be able to have or not, but we actually sent out an email polling the past attendees to see how they were feeling. Were they planning on attending festivals in 2020? Were they still thinking about this particular event? And the majority actually ended up saying that they were planning on still coming if things were allowed to be back open by then. So that was good news for us. And we also asked in the survey, what additional things do you need from us to feel safe and comfortable during this event if we do end up being able to have it?
Thanks, Jessica. A couple of things real quick, guys, that brought up. One is this is a really great time to survey your members about things. I wouldn't do big, long surveys, but a couple of questions that they're probably more, they have more time and they're more apt to answer those questions now, and you can hear from them and see where their minds are at in running their business right now. And the second thing I would say is when this thing does open back up, I would plan on a big event, a big networking event for your community, because that's going to be a revenue opportunity. When it does open back up, people are going to want to interact with each other. Let's go to Meredith. Meredith?
Yeah, I was just going to say this. I'm Meredith. I'm from the Chattanooga Chamber. And I was just going to say we are in budget season right now, which our new fiscal year starts July 1st. So our CFO really challenged us to come up with 3 budget scenarios. And so we have an optimistic, a conservative, and an austerity model should things just get to the worst of the worst. And where I'm going with this on events specifically is we've had conversations. We're a very event-heavy chamber because we're the only chamber for the city and the county in Chattanooga, Hamilton County. And when we have our what we call post-mortem meetings after large events, you always have those events that are like, oh, that was a lot of work. Was it worth it? So forth. And so really, this has given us an opportunity to have a lot of conversation around, for lack of better words, killing the sacred cows, getting rid of the events that maybe need to be in the startup community or maybe someone else needs to take on. So this is allowing us to have a lot of conversation. Similar to what Susie has said, we are in that optimistic model. We are planning as if events will happen just at a later date, and we're kind of pushing everything off. But should our board come back to us and say, this is the budget we're going with, and it's going to be conservative or worst case austerity model, we'll start cutting major events. And it may be the time that, like, finally, it was just the time that event went, it was its time to go. So that's kind of what we're doing. Nothing crazy or outside the box, but it's just allowing us to have different conversations that normally we would be budgeting and moving forward as normal. The only other thing I was going to say that I had picked up from another conference call, I'm super excited. We're going to reach out to our city mayor when the time comes that our county opens with the state on the 1st, but our city is still our city mayor is still saying we're closed down, but we're reaching out to he and his office we have a beautiful sign for Chattanooga and doing a ribbon cutting when business officially opens back up. So I think that's really something that's cool too, that I think like with Facebook Live and different things like that is just a really neat idea that I wanted to share that we're planning on doing.
Yeah, Meredith, I think the big 4 metros must have shared that because we're doing the same thing. So I think Andy's probably shared that with everybody else in that group as well, because we're going to do kind of that virtual ribbon cutting as well.
Yes.
Let me say one other thing, guys. We got a new CEO in June of last year, and the first thing he asked us to do when we came into this new budget year was to add the amount of man hours that go into each event as we budgeted. If you start doing that, you're going to start understanding that your events are probably not near as profitable as you think you are, as you think they are. And so what Meredith just said is a really good opportunity now for you to think about, as we're going to go forward and we're going to do events, how many man hours am I putting into them? Are they really profitable? Do I really need to be doing them? Or were people just coming because they felt like they had to, or were they really getting benefit from them? So it's a good idea for you to think about that going forward. Thanks, Meredith. Anybody else about what you're doing about events, fundraising, budgeting, anything like that?
Well, we've decided to, even though our other annual event is in November, we're just not sure how much our businesses will be able to participate in that event at, like, the same investment dollars. So just worst case scenario planning for our budget for that event this year, we're just going to kind of half it. So 50% the income and 50% the expenses, and just kind of pivot that event to be on a lower scale, but still fun. It's still going to be an important event to have in our community because it's kind of our big gala celebration. And we know everyone's going to want to still have it, but maybe we just dial it down. And I really foresee it being maybe that way moving forward. Like, I think everyone's going to enjoy it probably a little bit more. It'll be a little bit cheaper for everyone to participate, and everyone's still going to have a good time.
That's great. Yeah, you just gotta change. And Tammy on a call yesterday with our TCCE board said she's sick of hearing the word pivot, but pivot's what you got to do. You gotta rearrange your thinking and rearrange what you're doing to make sure that you're meeting the needs of everybody. Well, let's talk lastly about small business and tourism. Let's start with tourism, because I know a lot of you guys have tourism under your umbrella as well. What are you doing to prepare to crank back up from a tourism perspective to get people back into your community? Anybody? Hello? Is anybody there?
We're all here. We're just kind of waiting to see what anybody else would have to say about tourism right now. We're all a little gun shy. Yeah.
Oh, here, I just got one, Mark. This is from Wayne County. I think Christine, she can't have her audio. She can't speak, but she can hear us. She said they've asked the county to gift the chamber with $5,000 to begin that revamp.
Yeah. Yeah, now's the time possibly to go back to your governments and say, hey, we didn't qualify for PPP. I'm responsible for this. We haven't had a lot of revenue coming in from members, and it's not just the members' responsibility to fund tourism. So, what can you do to help us here to, get this thing re-kicked back off? Anybody else?
Woody from Lynchburg. We're planning on doing a social media campaign as soon as we can get opened up to let people know that the town is open, and we're pushing our October events heavily.
Yeah.
Hey, I'll add something. Kim from Gallatin here, and I have the privilege of having a husband who's a museum director and very involved in the tourism industry. But in Sumner County, we have a CVB that serves the whole county, so a little of that weight is lifted off the chambers in terms of tourism. But something that we're really focusing on in Gallatin in the days ahead is encouraging our residents to explore their own city, because they've been trapped inside their house going on 6, by the time we get out of this, 8 weeks. So they have a huge opportunity to go see the assets that exist in our own city. And so not so much visitors from outside the area, but really getting those engaged within your own community and focusing on those tourism assets that maybe you don't always showcase to those that are already here. So, like, kind of reaching within.
Yeah, that's a great idea, Kim, to help people understand what the community is all about. They're going to want to get back into their own community as well. They've not been able to go to the zoo. They've not been able to go to the downtown. They've not been able to do some of the things that they would normally get to do and go to museums, as you said. So this is a great time to remind people that you have a great community and to try to explore it either virtually or in person when things open back up. Great idea. Anybody else?
Hey, Mark. Tammy. Hey, Mark. This is
Tammy.
Okay, so a couple of things that we're doing. One, we did a grant from the Tourism Authority, from our Tourism Authority for our tourism businesses, where they could apply to help them get through this time. They had to submit some applications and some innovative ways that they're handling everything at the moment. So we have $5,000 that we just granted out. The other thing is we're also refocusing on regional tourism and not so much out of state, just trying to get folks in the region to come back this way. We also started last weekend with our farmers market in downtown Maryville. And of course, there was a lot of limitations. Everybody stayed, distant, and but it worked. People were glad to be out. I was so excited. I couldn't stand it. I was just excited to be out and about. And I think folks are looking for those safe opportunities. And two more things. Next week or the week after, I can't remember, is Tourism Week, Small Business Week, and we're putting packages together, tourism and retail packages that we're going to give away. And then finally, we are planning to do a festival, Hops in the Hills and Summer on Broadway, in the next couple of months. We're just trying to be creative and figure out the best way to do that. But I think the plans at the moment are we're continuing on with that.
That's great. That's great. Who else was had something? Thanks, Tammy.
Hey guys. I just want to circle back to the event for a second. We have a big festival that we get a lot of revenue from, and of course we had to postpone it. It was supposed to be May the 16th. We've tentatively moved it to September 12th, and of course we're in the Nashville area, so we're having to consistently, watch the phase-in plan that the mayor is putting forth right now, and we're actually sending that out to our members along with a survey that we were sent from the Nashville Chamber to get their feedback on the phasing in process. But our festival in September is still looking like we might be in a hot zone at that time. And so has anybody heard from their insurance companies about any kind of difficulties getting event insurance or anything of that nature? Because I don't want to keep moving this event, but I also don't feel really comfortable moving forward with announcing a lot about it yet. Anybody else have an outdoor festival with, we typically have 12 to 15,000 people at this thing, and we're just not really sure what to do at this point. Just kind of save the date because we have a lot of stakeholders in this event.
Amy, I'm
I'm
going to say this. We talked on the board meeting yesterday. I don't know that we're going to be back to more than 150 or 100 people by August or September. I think it would be prudent for you to consider, speaking with event insurance people or whatever else about that. I don't know if they're going to offer coverage, but I think there's a real fear going into fall that there could be, since it's going back into flu season again, that there could be a potential for another outbreak. So I would be real. That's just me. I would be real hesitant. Does anybody else want to weigh in on that about trying to plan a big event in September?
We have an event the same day, Amy. Thank you so much for asking this. I have been reading a little bit about events in September, probably the same things you're reading. And I'm hesitant to go ahead and ask our insurance person yet because I don't want, just like Mark said, I don't think anybody really knows yet. But I feel the same way. I'm nervous about it. I'm not ready to put out a lot of information. We're in the Nashville metro area too, in Goodlettsville. So that would be a big concern of mine. And the date's the same, September 12th. So I am also concerned about insurance as well as it being a hot risk season at that time too.
I'm also concerned that we've already taken in a significant amount of revenue for that from sponsors. And we've reached out to all our sponsors and just let them know, hey, we're looking at a reschedule, and they're all so far still on board. But we've got, a significant amount of money sitting in our account that we're pretending doesn't exist at this point. I think
they're all on board for the September date. Like everyone you've talked to is already good with September.
Well, we haven't officially told them September 12th yet, but we did reach out and say we're rescheduling it for the fall. Are you still on board as a sponsor? Do you feel comfortable doing that? And so far, we haven't had any negative feedback from our sponsors. But I've got, our carnival guy and our entertainment director who's reaching out, wanting to know if he can start booking acts for this. And I just don't know what to tell anybody at this point. And, you know, we're kind of, from a financial forecasting standpoint, pretending that we don't have that money, which is pretty devastating to us in terms of our financial future. So,
well, guys, let me say this. Keep a real close watch on what's going to happen with NCAA football. If they don't have NCAA football or high school football, you are not going to have a festival. People are going to say, if it's not safe enough for you to have high school football, or it's not safe enough for us to have NCAA football with the amount of revenue that's generated in communities for that, that's going to be a really good way for you to gauge whether or not it's going to be safe. So you can bet at the end of July, the NCAA is going to make a huge decision, and they're going to consult with everybody about whether or not gatherings at NCAA institutions, and I'm not just talking about UT, I'm talking about Maryville College, I'm talking about anybody that's a member of the NCAA, whether or not they feel like it's safe for any school to have a gathering of more than 5,000 people, say. So just keep an eye on that.
Hey, Mark.
I hate to cut. Go ahead, Laura. Go ahead.
Sorry, I was going to tell you all the TSSAA is supposed to be coming out in the next several weeks about summer practices as well. So that's going to be, and practice schedules for schools. So that's going to be a large indication, I think.
I think so
as
too.
Us going into summer and fall as well. So keep an eye out on that, because I got some information last week that that's coming out in the next several weeks.
Yeah. So I hate to force us on, but I know, as Mark said, a lot of you are still interested in the health plan. And so I'd like to turn it over to Jim, unless anybody has any other burning questions. And before we turn it over to Jim, again, guys, thank you. Great ideas. Thank you for helping each other. That's what this is all about. I so appreciate it. I've gotten several great ideas from you guys today. I'm sure you all did. Thank you so much for your input. And Jim, if you don't mind, come in and talk to us a little bit about the health plan.
No, thank you very much for making time for me this morning. Hello, everybody. And I apologize. We had to put this, understandably so, on the back burner. Mark, in fact, you were the last one we met with before we got called off the road as COVID broke out nationwide, obviously. So in the meantime, I've continued to reach out to some folks here now that we're a month into this. And if you haven't heard from me already, you soon will. We're doing WebEx, Teams meetings, virtual meetings, any kind of media that'll get the job done. And if you are interested in learning more about that and do not hear from me in a timely manner, please let me know. We finally have some materials for participating chambers to post on their own website to distribute. We have a logo for Tennessee Chambers Health. And just yesterday, I received a document that they are offering a administration credit. There is an individual medical questionnaire that some people balk at, and they are now offering, per questionnaire filled out, a $100 credit. And that is for June enrollees. It starts 6/1, goes through 9/1, and Aetna is confident that it will carry on past that once it's well received as we get closer to insurance season here. And these meetings that we're doing virtually, it's myself, it's Aetna, who's the plan carrier, and then Vanderbilt, as their network is heavily involved in this. They are participating now as well. And then for those of you in East Tennessee, I know Vanderbilt doesn't have the presence out there either, Aetna or Vanderbilt, but they are continuing to spread their wings eastward, and they expect greater change in that area come fourth quarter this year, first quarter next year. And I can go over the rundown of the program. I don't know how much time I have. I know I'm standing between the government affairs update, and that's like standing between lunch a lot of times these days. But just wondering if there's any questions on it. Anybody I can direct? Is there anybody right now that knows they'd like to know more about Tennessee Chambers Health and the benefits of it? I saw one communication this morning, but we expect this to drive your membership eventually, and there is a revenue share component that many of you that I've already met with and some of you that have already signed on say that's not really the deciding factor. You just want to be able to offer a nice product to your members and then again, bring the members in. But again, there is a revenue share component built into this that we developed. And really the only stipulation is that you are an active member of the Tennessee Chamber, which is of course different than TCCE, separate organizations. But we're not looking to make a lot of money on that. It's just to get everybody in unison offering it together. If you're not a member, you cannot market the program, you cannot receive revenue share on it. So that's important just to get everybody on board. And I will continue again to reach out. Even those that have told me it's not a good fit, I touch base now and then just to see if anything has changed.
Has anybody got any questions for Jim specific to the plan? Or certainly if you have more interest in it, you're welcome to reach out to Susie or Carolyn or Jim directly. Has anybody got any questions they feel like need to be asked so that everybody else can hear it? Anybody? All right. Well, Susie, I understand. I think somebody just put a notice on there that Nashville's having a press conference, and then I know the governor's coming on at 10 as well. I know everybody may want to go back that's in that Nashville metro area or that region, go back and hear what the mayor, what the press conference has to say in Nashville. And certainly we want to catch our governor at 10. So I'm going to close the meeting down unless anybody's got anything else that they need to talk about real quickly before we close. Susie, you have anything else?
No, thanks, Mark. Thank you all for joining. It's just so good to see everybody. So good. We are going to send us, what Mark asked me to do was to send a survey monkey. What he meant to say, send a survey monkey to the TCCE chambers. But what he said was to send a small monkey to all the TCCE chambers. Ask some thoughts on August. We do have August TCCE planned in Knoxville, but we just don't know, and we're going to get your thoughts on that. So that'll come out soon, and anything you guys need, just shoot us an email, and maybe we'll do this again. I thought it was great, and hope it's just good to see you guys. So, Carolyn, you have anything?
Nope, that's all. And I know anybody also interested with the health plan, I know Jim and I are working on getting more added to the website as well. So we'll let you know when that's up and live.
Well, guys, before we close, let me say one more time, sincerely, thank you all for what you're doing in your communities. It's great work. It's important work. Do everything you can to help your members. I'm sure you will. Great time for you to connect with your legislative folks, your electeds. And thank you again for being a part of TCCE and for all you do for each other. So thank you guys so much for jumping on today. And I pray that you guys will have a safe and healthy weekend.